Wild thought for you. What if you were sitting on literally a $1 trillion treasure chest, but you'd lost the key? Well, that's pretty much the story of Venezuela. This is a country with more oil than anyone else on the entire planet, but its industry is, to put it mildly, a complete wreck. Now, with some political winds starting to shift, everybody's asking the same thing. Can this sleeping oil giant ever actually wake up? Let's get into it. This slide right here just says it all, doesn't it? You've got this incredible reality on one hand, an ocean of black gold right under their feet, just unimaginable wealth. But then you look at the problem, and it's a broken, rusted-out mess. We're not talking about a simple tune-up. No, this is a total teardown and rebuild, and it's going to be unbelievably expensive. Okay, so let's just forget about politics for a minute. Let's talk about the first giant wall you smash into, and it's just pure, cold, hard cash. The price tag to even start fixing this thing, well, it's just staggering. So let's try to put a real number on this. How much money are we actually talking about just to get the lights back on? And remember, we're not even talking about getting back to the glory days here. We're just looking for a pulse. $20 billion. And I need to be super clear here. That's just the cover charge to get in the door. That's the money you have to sink into this thing before you can even begin to tackle the real deep-seated problems. I mean, the scale of that number is almost impossible to wrap your head around. And here's the really wild part about that $20 billion. It doesn't even buy you a gusher of new oil. Nope, it's just for patching up the absolute most basic broken pieces of the infrastructure. All that cash gets you a pretty small bump in production, maybe 400 or 500,000 barrels a day. And the real kicker, you have to spend every single dollar of that before you see one new drop of oil come out of the ground. So with that kind of price tag and that level of upfront risk, you got to ask the obvious question, right? Are the big international oil companies just lining up, checkbooks in hand, ready to jump in? Yeah, as you probably guessed, that's a hard no. And this quote really gets to the heart of it. Just put yourself in the shoes of a CEO of a major oil company. How on earth do you explain to your shareholders that you're about to bet billions and billions of their dollars on one of the most politically unstable places on earth? That risk, it looms extremely large in their minds. And honestly, you can't really blame them. It's just smart business. Why would you gamble on Venezuela when you have much safer, easier bets right next door in places like Guyana or Brazil or across the ocean in Africa? And on top of all the political chaos, Venezuelan oil itself is really thick, it's sludgy, it's just plain difficult to deal with. So you've got massive costs, huge political risk, and tough geology. It's basically the trifecta of a really, really bad investment. But you know what? Even if $20 billion just magically appeared tomorrow, there's a much bigger, much deeper problem we have to talk about. This isn't just about pipes and pumps, it's about trust. Or maybe more accurately, the complete and total lack of it. I mean, think about it. No sane company is going to pour billions of dollars into the ground without some kind of rock-solid guarantee that their investment is safe. And that means getting a stable, long-term deal locked in with both a new, reliable Venezuelan government and the U.S. government. They have to know the rules of the game aren't going to change overnight. And this quote right here, it just sums up the timeline perfectly. There's no magic wand for this. It's not going to be fast. It's going to be a slow, painful process of, as the expert says, trust building on trust. Just one tiny step at a time. And this really lays out just how long that road is going to be. This isn't one big leap of faith. First, you need some basic promises from whatever government is in charge. Then, maybe, just maybe, a few companies will dip a toe in the water with small test investments. And only after that can you even begin to think about rebuilding the actual government institutions, and then somehow try to convince all the engineers and experts who fled the country years ago to actually come back. And that brings us to this really critical idea, institutional decay. See, this isn't just about rusty equipment. The government itself, the whole software that's supposed to be running this massive operation is broken. The people, the expertise, the basic ability to manage a project this huge, pretty much all of it is just gone. Okay, so now let's zoom out. Because if Venezuela does somehow start on this long journey back, it's not happening in a bubble. A move like that would send huge ripples across a global energy market that looks totally different than it did 20 years ago. And this global chessboard is seriously complicated. Just look at two of the big players. You've got China, who's on the hook for up to $100 billion it loaned to Venezuela. But The US basically holds the keys to the oil exports that China needs to ever get paid back. Kinda awkward. Meanwhile, the old oil cartel, OPEC Plus, is already seeing its power fade. More oil from Venezuela would just make them even weaker. But here's the real twist in all of this. The biggest player shaking up the entire global oil market today, it's not Venezuela. It's not even OPEC. It's the United States. The US has become such a monster producer. We're talking 23 to 24 times million barrels of liquid fuels every single day that it has completely rewritten the rulebook. America is the new king of the hill, period. So, as we start to bring this all together, the main takeaway is pretty undeniable. This whole situation is a marathon, not a sprint. The timeline to get anywhere close to a recovery is, in the words of the expert we're looking at, very, very long. And this comparison really puts that marathon into perspective. On one side, you have the peak, the glory days, when Venezuela was a powerhouse, pumping out 3.5 million barrels of oil every single day. And on the other side, well, that's the reality. A deep, dark canyon and a long, treacherous climb just to get back to a fraction of that. So, let's just recap the major roadblocks one more time. You've got a staggering $20 billion entry fee, a deep, deep deficit of trust and government institutions that have basically rotted from the inside out, a super complex geopolitical game being played by the US and China, and on top of it all, a global energy market that's been completely turned on its head by American production. Which leaves us with this final, massive question. It really is the ultimate risk versus reward scenario. The prize is incredible, the largest proven oil reserve on the entire planet. But is that prize truly worth the staggering financial, political, and institutional risk it would take to claim it? That right there is the $20 billion question that companies and countries are all trying to answer right now.